I'm back. Who's ready to learn? It's a two-timer. It's going to take 2 times to get this one right. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry I had to leave and come back. Let me shut this door because it's like the ghost of white out here. We're in whiteout in Humboldt. We're in 4 days of fog. We get a little reprieve. We've seen the sun a little bit. I look like a ghost right now. Let me see if I can turn this one off. This one on. Come on, camera. There we go. Maybe I don't need it on. Whoa. What's up? Hello again, Benjamin. Good to see you. Hi, guys. All the channels are open. It doesn't matter where, if you want to chat, where you guys hang out. Oh, wait. Let me put on my hat. Hello. My name is Deanna, and I'm streaming out of Humboldt County, about Humboldt County, to Humboldt County, and anyone else who cares. But this is my study time. This is an unusual time. I'm usually on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but yesterday I did a lot of prep work for this study. It's starting to get really meaty, and so I'm actually going to need this light. It's starting to get really meaty as far as I'm not really going to be able to just throw the camera on many, many days and just read through and study and answer these questions. Sometimes I can do that when we're going through the one book, The 5,000 Year Leap. This one's a little bit of an easier read in the questions. It's all real simple. But when we're studying through this book about what was going on when the Constitution was being drafted and passed and our early years of self-government in America, that's what this whole thing is about, right? Is self-governing. You know, this whole book is pretty meaty. And what's great is I've been seeing a lot of letters and influence from other countries around the world at this time too. What they were saying about what was going on in America. Remember Jacques de Tocqueville. Hi, Camo, good to see you. So anyway, I'm sorry to have missed it yesterday, wasted your time today earlier. I really do think that this is a really important study, and that's probably why I'm having so much trouble getting it out, is because there's just this is part of this, you know, spiritual battle. There's just a opposition to good things, opposition to learning, opposition to being in the truth and standing for the truth. Those things, if you're doing those things, you're certainly going to be coming up against a lot of opposition. So anyway, that's where I'm at with this. And we're having a lot of opposition in Humboldt County right now, and we really need everybody to get on the same page about our remedies and how to deal with these people that are just monstrous. You know, they're just not even on the same like ground, where they're on another planet. They're just totally out to lunch. They look and talk to us with disdain. Matter of fact, the city councilwoman last week called one of the constituents literally an asshole. She apologized, so I guess that's supposed to make it better, but it doesn't. Not for me. And it just shows their attitude, and it just shows their disrespect. I've been going to the meetings and watching people and sharing people. And so have a lot of you guys. You've seen me watch a lot of streams where people have stood up. We've seen people come and go to pray for people. We had city council, had 3 different people praying for them a couple months ago. Hey, Devil Dog, Biden is going to be in 3 states, say 1 unconscious, 2 semi-conscious, and 3 confused. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'll have to tell my mama that one. She'll like that one. I can't even really talk about him to her because she gets so mad. She gets so mad. But anyway, you guys, this is it's so interesting and parallel to what is going on, if you're paying attention to politics at all, if you're paying attention to the House and the Senate and the president, then you're going to find this really interesting. I was learning a lot. It was really hard for me. I read I read all these pages. The reading, let me show you. If you don't have your kit, just real quick, I know I say this every time, but it's because a lot of people don't have their kit. And I do take the time to go ahead and upload the pages that we're studying that day so that you can read along, and also so that you can go back and read the rest of it that I'll be skipping, because I'm not going to read all these pages to you guys. So I've got the answers, but I do want to encourage you to read all these pages, because this is really the heart of how our government works and the democratic process that is used through the republic. Am I saying that right? Because we have democratic processes, but we're not a democracy. We're a republic. And so that's part of the confusion, is just even talking in the right language. Now, I also added on here recently the National Assembly, but we'll talk about that on another stream. I'm going to stay on the Constitution. So you just go to standuphumble.news, the Constitution study. The first two links will take you to the kit. You could get your own kit from the National Center for Constitutional Studies. They also have a lot of free resources. If you can't get this kit, if you can't afford to get your own kit, then just follow along here. Just go to this page. This is the binder that I'm reading these questions out of. Devil Dog suggested I really just learn this book through this study guide and not just like try to tear through this book one page through the next. It would be probably pretty dry. And this has put it together in a cohesive way for us to understand and ask us the questions that we need to be asked to really understand what is going on with this government that is us, our government, we the people. And if nothing's going on with me or nothing's going on with you, then it should come as no surprise the state that our government is in, right? Okay, so we're on these 14 through 22 is what we're answering questions of today. That's 8 questions, so I'm going to get right to it. Sometimes I do have a little chitty chat before we get into things. Astawa, good to see you, baby. Okay, we're going to 14, okay? Describe the 4 basic restraints on lawmaking according to the founders. So, see, they always give us the pages. And basically this was, I read from 354 to 368. And I'm not doing that with you today. I'm just going to answer these questions. But again, like I said, these pages are here for you. So I'll be reading you the highlights and the answers. You have to hit show more to see all of them. But that's what I'm going to do, is give you brief answers. And actually not so brief. Some of them are going to be a little longer than others. Some of these are really important to read. But let's see. The 4 basic restraints on lawmaking according to the founders. And then let me have one page open with the questions and one page open with the pages that we're reading. And today's is in The Making of America. Sometimes it's in this other one, the 5,000-Year Leap. So you just never know what's going to be. Okay, so I threw this first page in there, even though they started us on the second page. So legislative restraints, the answers are right here. They're even numerated, you guys. They're even in numbers. So number 1, the people cannot delegate to government the power to do anything which would be unlawful them to do themselves. The legislative is not, nor can possibly be, absolutely arbitrary over the lives and fortune of the people. For it being but the joint power of every member of the society given up that person or assembly, which is legislature, it can be no more than those persons had in a state of nature before they entered into society and gave it up to the community. For nobody can transfer to another more power than he has in himself, and nobody has an absolute arbitrary power over himself or over any other to destroy his own life or take away the life or property of another. 2, legislative authority cannot be delegated. Once the people have given the Congress the authority to represent them in making laws, that authority and responsibility become fixed and non-transferable. The founders often quoted John Locke on this principle as well. The legislative cannot transfer the power of making laws to any other hands, for it being but a delegated power from the people. They who have it cannot pass it over to others. And then he goes on to more there, but we're going to go to 3. Any statute is inherently null and void if it violates what Jefferson called the laws of nature and of nature's God. A statement on this theme widely quoted by the founders was the pronouncement by the great English jurist Sir William Blackstone: man considered as a creature must necessarily be subject to the laws of his creator, for he is entirely a dependent being, and consequently, as man depends absolutely upon his maker for everything, it is necessary that he should in all points conform to his maker's will. The will of his maker is called the law of nature. For as God, when he created matter and endued it with a principle of mobility, established certain rules for the perpetual direction of that motion, so when he created man and endued him with free will to conduct himself in all parts of life, he laid down certain immutable laws of human nature. Immutable? How am I not saying that right? Immutable. Why'd they have to break it up like that? These are the eternal, immutable laws of good and evil. Boom, there's your answer. What's going on? The laws of nature being coeval. Oh, that's right. I was going to look up a bunch of words on this too. And I did look up some. It is binding all over the globe, in all countries, and at all times. No human laws are of any validity if contrary to this. We're talking about natural rights such as life, liberty, need not the aid of human laws to be more effectually invested in every man than they are. Neither do they receive any additional strength when declared by the municipal laws to be inviolate. On the contrary, no human legislature has power to abridge or destroy them. Do you hear that, Miles Slattery? Unless the owner shall himself commit some act that amounts to a forfeiture, which we don't. We're not condoning your shenanigans. We've been telling you. 4, the law must not be used to destroy equality and justice. It's already there. It's already there. And the law placed the collective force of government at the disposal of the unscrupulous who wish, without risk, to exploit the person, liberty, and property of others. It has converted plunder of property into a right in order to protect plunder, and it has converted lawful defense into a crime in order to punish lawful defense. That's where we are today. And they knew it. They were warning us of it. The dangers of it. Let's see, those were all 4. First, 4 basic restraints on lawmaking. Okay, number 15. Oh, wait, let me see what I put. The short answer. I didn't really give you the short answer because there are short answers, but I also was going to read some of that too. So we read them all. But I'll do this brief, what I put here. The people cannot delegate to government the power to do anything which would be unlawful to do themselves. 2, legislative authority cannot be delegated. 3, any statute is null and void if it violates the law of nature and of nature's God. And 4, law must not be used to destroy equality and justice. Okay, 15. Why did the founders give the House of Representatives the sole authority to initiate revenue bills? Ooh, you guys, this one was so interesting. So interesting. Okay. They are to originate in the House for several reasons. And right here we can see the provision was originally designed to give the people the right to have the raising of their taxes under the direct supervision and responsibility of their own representatives. All bills for the raising of revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives. Provision 67. And down here, let's see. Later talked about the 17th Amendment. House of Representatives, where there is an accounting to the electorate every 2 years. What was the purpose of providing that all money bills must originate in the House? The House of Representatives will represent the immediate interests of the people. We, the people. They will originate all money bills, which is one of the greatest securities in any Republican government. Let's see if we answer all that. A government cannot be supported without money. This is my favorite part. Listen up. I feel like we should really take heed to this section, especially. A government cannot be supported without money. Our representatives may at any time compel the Senate to agree to a reasonable measure by withholding supplies till the measure is consented to. In short, the acceptance of the plan will inevitably fail. Let's see. Wait. I've started to read half of Jerry's quote here. Senate will, if the Senate be not restrained from originating money bills. They knew they did not want the Senate in charge of the money. Nicholas, any branch of government depends on the will of another for supplies of money must be in a state of subordinate dependence. Let it have what other powers it may. Now here's the part. This is where I feel like we're the people, right? Down here, the original intent of the Constitution, Madison. The House of Representatives can not only refuse, but they alone can propose the supplies requisite for the support of government. They, in a word, hold the purse. This power over the purse may in fact be regarded as the most complete and effectual weapon with which any constitution can arm the immediate representatives of the people for obtaining a redress of every grievance and for carrying into effect every just and salutary measure. Because why? Who is the House directly accountable to? Us. It's accountable to the people. Let's see if I answered all that right. So that it could be under the direct supervision and responsibility for their own representatives. Of course. 16. What is the president's role in the legislative process? Describe the options he has when Congress passes a bill and presents it for his signature. Okay, so I'm going to read the answer, then I'll go read what I underlined. We'll do it opposite. See how this one works. To review every bill by House and Senate when he autographs his name and it becomes a law. If it's not approved, and he will reject it, it shall be entered into the journal. Also, I don't have it written here, but it says with his objections. Well, yeah, that's what it means. His objections will be entered into the journal. He has 10 days, and that doesn't count when they're not in session for Christmas and stuff. 10 working days to vote, to autograph it. But if he doesn't sign it, it can become an automatic law if 2/3 of the House and Senate vote on it together. They can pass it without his signature, but it has to be 2/3. So we're going to go look at that, all that stuff, because that was 4 pages of stuff. So let's look and see. Where did you have me at? President's role 357-61. Yeah. Okay. Let me open that up too. Provision 69. Every bill passed by the House and Senate shall be presented to the president for his review. This provision gives the president the right to review all new legislation passed during his administration. Most bills die in committee. And we'll talk a little bit about that. This is all about the president right now and what he can do. So let's go down here. If the president, and there's a nice diagram here. Let me see if I can blow this up anymore. Oh, we're zoomed. Oh, that's better. Whoa. Wow, that's way better. Okay. If the president approves the bill, he shall sign it, and then it becomes law at the time indicated in the bill. Okay, so, and there's some stuff about amendments in there. I do encourage you to read all this because I'm not going to read through all of this, you guys, but we're going to read through the highlights. We're just going to read through the highlights. I already gave you the answers, so I just want to kind of skim through this. There's a great diagram here of how a bill becomes a law. I love me some diagrams. It's like meme world. We live in meme world, don't we? Let's see. And there in provision 71, it talks about how he shall record their concerns. Congress records his concerns in the official journal. After due consideration of the president's objections, both houses, this is provision 72, both houses may vote on the bill again. If 2/3 of the House and Senate approve the bill, it shall become law without the president's signature. However, the name and vote of each senator and representative shall be entered into the journals of their respective houses. And provision 73 is where if he doesn't sign it or return it to Congress within 10 days, it will automatically become law. This provision is designed to give Congress the right to have their legislation become law. 74 is the provision about if he adjourns. So if it gets on his desk, he has his 10 days to do it. Before he has 10 days to do it, the bill shall not become law. And that also has to do with when they are going in and out. But I did want to read about the pocket veto, and I want to make sure to read about junket too. So let's see. Right to have a bill 10 days. When this amount of time is not available, Congress must take responsibility, and the bill will not become law unless the president signs it. Unsigned bills never become law. It is as though the president had placed them in his pocket and forgotten about them. This is called the president's pocket veto. The form in which a bill is signed by the leaders of both houses and by the president and then deposited with the Department of State becomes a complete and unimpeachable version in the sight of the courts. Interesting, right? Okay, provision 75. Every order, resolution, or vote. Let's see. I think we're done with that question, though. I don't think we're reading about this. Shall be presented to president and approved by him before it takes effect. Every order, resolution, or vote requiring the concurrence of the Senate and the House of Representatives, except on a question of adjournment, shall be presented to the President of the United States and approved by him before it takes. So he's very much involved in the legislative process, I would say. But he is certainly not a dictator or king. Or both, the same thing anyway. But what do you consider most important? Describe the options he has when Congress passes a bill. I don't think we're done with that because we didn't get to talk about the junket. Where's that junket? Maybe it's later. I was like, oh, I remember about that. You're supposed to read all these now. I have to keep looking at the question. The president's role in the legislative process. No, because they're going to ask more about the president later, I think. Or is this it? Because they have a good summary at the end, too, is why I'm wondering. The very end, it's actions by the president. These are more of his actions, but the second part of that, I'm just not sure if I answered that. The options he has. Yeah, we did, I guess. We did answer his options. 17. What do you consider to be the most important points the founders made regarding their newly inventive legislative process? Oh, yeah, that's where we're going to pick it up here. Okay, so right under this little headline that says the founders invented a new legislative process. The president is of a very different nature from a monarch. He is to be chosen by electors, appointed by the people, to be taken from the people, among the people, to hold his office only for a short period of 4 years, blah, 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 blah. The executive is not entirely at the mercy of the legislature, nor is it to put in the power of the executive entirely to defeat the acts of those two important branches. So let's see. And then I got some underlined. Not to become a law unless 2/3 of both houses shall concur. Regard to his duty alone could induce him to oppose when it was probable 2/3 would at all events overrule him. It might frequently happen that where a bare majority had carried a pernicious bill, if there was an authority to suspend it upon a cool statement of reasons. Am I not on the right page? There we are. There's a lot about reasoning here in this paragraph. I like this. Many of that majority on a reconsideration might be convinced and vote differently. It serves to protect the executive from ill designs in the legislature. It may also answer the purpose of preventing many laws passing which would be immediately injurious to the people at large. It is a strong guard against abuses in all that the president's reasons are to be entered at large on the journals, and if the bill passes, notwithstanding that the yeas and nays are also to be entered, the public therefore can judge fairly between them. President also has conditional veto power. It gives balance back to the system. You can read about the veto power a little more in depth as well. It says right on the next page here that veto designed to check legislative injustice and encroachments. Madison, the object of the revisionary power is twofold. First, to defend the executive rights. Secondly, to prevent popular or fictitious injustice. It was an important principle to this and in the state constitutions to check legislative injustice and encroachments. I have so much underlined. You guys are going to have to do some of your own reading here. Like I told you, I read all of this, but I'm not going to read all this. This is a very meaty lesson, probably one of the meatiest so far. But I think it's really important for everyone to read it and to learn it. It says here the president is guardian against legislative tyranny. G. Morris, one great object of the executive is to control the legislature. The legislator will continually seek to aggrandize and perpetuate themselves and will seize those critical moments produced by war, invasion, or convulsion for that purpose. It is necessary then that the executive magistrate should be the guardian of the people, even of the lower classes, against legislative tyranny, against the great and the wealthy, who, in the course of things, will necessarily compose the legislative body. Wealth tends to corrupt the mind, to nourish its love of power, and to stimulate it to oppression. History proves this to be the spirit of the opulent. Tell me some more. Only the iron-willed reformer will survive. They're talking about how the new congressman coming into Washington to fill up his campaign promise to clean up the mess. No amount of enthusiasm can obscure the fact that the legislative process is a tedious chore and only the iron-willed reformer will survive. This was interesting. I liked how we're talking about bills here, but here's a little tidbit about coin and the In God We Trust. Bills may sometimes result from the suggestions of individual citizens, just as the founders intended. For example, in 1861, a minister, Reverend M.R. Watkinson of Pennsylvania, suggested that the motto, In God We Trust, should appear on our national coins as a message of hope during the Great War between the states. In 1864, this motto began to appear on some of the coins, and in 1955, Congress required it to appear on all coins. Each House of Congress has a legislative council to help write each bill in its proper form. I mean, sometimes we wouldn't think that, especially if I'm looking at the way I'm trying to see how we can, how is this dumbed down in the local level? Because I'm sure we're supposed to have a very similar process. It would seem like these representatives, these public servants are supposed to do what we want and hear what we want. But in Humboldt County, they're bringing us a whole bunch of plans and things and ordinances and statutes that we don't want. And so it's our job to stop them. They're well beyond their limits. They have well already sunk their own ship. There's a hopper. There are all these ways bills can be introduced, you guys. It's a great read. I think you should read it. should read all of these pages because I did take the time to upload them for you. This is a big study. What do you consider to be the most, let's see, did I answer this question? Yeah, I did about that. Most important points. I have the balance is set up to be different than a monarchy. People choose the president and the House. An executive is not at the mercy of the legislative. There's lots of reasoning, strong guards against abuses in all branches of government. 18, describe how a bill is initiated, how it's introduced in each House of Congress, and what is happening before it gets a hearing before a congressional committee. So we're going to talk about hearings. Answers, bills usually initiated from executive branch. We talked a little bit about that just now, from Congress and from, but also from lobbying, special interests, or media blitz. Isn't that interesting? That's how bills are introduced. So the hearing. At the hearing, both proponents and opponents are heard. Some of these are called experts on the subjects of the bill. This is where we see lobbyists. We have professional lobbyists who provide the research and arguments for or against the bill. Excuse me. These efforts are coordinated through the congressmen or senators who are on each side of the debate. There are approximately 27,000 lobbyists in Washington, most of whom are registered in their professional capacity. However, anyone can lobby for or against a bill. Many people feel the professional lobbyist is a threat to the democratic process, but congressmen and senators soon learn how dependent they become on these motivated researchers to give them a better understanding of both sides of any question. Unfortunately, most congressmen and senators have little time to study these briefs themselves, so they rely on their trusted staff members to weigh the arguments and prepare speeches, which can be read on the floor. Of course, they must be fairly well informed. Oh, here we go. Junket. Sometimes a committee will feel dissatisfied with what the members are being told and decide to go on a junket to see for themselves. A junket. Very often, these so-called junkets come under severe criticism when they take the members of the committee on expensive and seemingly unnecessary excursions, which sound more like vacation trips than serious investigative studies. After a hearing is completed, the committee meets in a closed executive session to examine the bill line by line and carefully mark up any suggested changes. This is called a markup meeting. They have amendments. They have committees that, they do it all. They do it all. If a majority of the committee is opposed to a bill, it will vote to have it tabled, which means the bill will be set aside and probably forgotten. Occasionally, however, a committee may oppose a bill, but believe the whole House should have the opportunity of discussing and acting on it. It will then report the bill out of committee with an unfavorable recommendation. The House has a rule that if a committee has a bill buried for more than 30 days or 7 days in the Rule Committee, it can be blasted out of committee by having a simple majority of 218 House members sign a discharge petition. In the Senate, a buried bill can be blasted out of the committee by a motion on the floor, which is approved by a majority of those present. And now we're going to get into the calendar. So I think that's another question. Excuse me. Let's see if I answered that. Bills usually, 19. Tell how a bill may be scrutinized during the hearing process. Both proponents and opponents are heard. Some experts, professional lobbyists, researchers arguing. They're coordinated with Congress or senators, junkets, amendments. Yep, unreasonable. Okay. When the bill comes out of committee, it is reported to the whole House and placed on the calendar. So we're going to 20. Describe the calendaring process in the House and the Senate. So that's pretty easy. When a bill comes out of committee, is reported in the whole House in one form or another and placed on the House or Senate calendar. The House of Representatives has three main calendars: the Union calendar for appropriation bills, the House calendar for public bills, the private calendar for private bills, which affect individuals or groups of individuals. The Senate uses just one calendar for its legislative business. And then it goes into this funny story how the new congressman feels great when his stuff gets on the calendar, but then, it's likely going to die. It's going to go through a lot. The Rules Committee sounds like a very powerful committee. And is that who Adam Schiff was in charge of? Wasn't he in charge of the Rules Committee? Is that Shifty Shift? They got a lot of power. Explain what happens to a piece of legislation when it reaches the floor of the House or Senate. Rules Committee may speed up consideration or block it temporarily or permanently. Oh, yes. Let's talk about the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee, what page are you on? 367 to 366, 67. Okay. Uh-oh. Oh, don't tell me I was missing a page. I was thinking when I was going through this, I was missing a page. Dang it, you guys. Polly, shut up if you're here. I don't want to hear it. Let me see if it's in my, let's see if I can throw it in here real quick. I'm missing a page. Oh my gosh. I know it's here. I think what happened is I made a mistake. Yeah, here it is. It's right here. Let's add it real quick. Okay. But where are you going to go? You're going to go before the president one. Let's put you right there. Let's see. Uh-oh. Well, it's in here, but it might not be in order. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, I think I got it. All right. Boy, oh boy. I thought I was so on my game. Yeah, let's go on a Tuesday. Let's just do it. Let's just get through it. We need to know this stuff. It's really important, isn't it? I think it's really important. I've been watching these meetings and hearings and all these things, and I don't necessarily know what I'm supposed to know for sure. So now I know better. Now I know better. Okay. Now let me refresh it. It should be here. 66, 366, and 367. Yeah, I knew I had it, but it was missing. There it is. Yay. Yay. So these Rules Committee, you guys, they're brutal. They're like, woo. Yeah, I already said that. They can speed it up, block it. That was the answer, basically. But I'm just going to skim through some of these because we're almost done. Yeah, there's only one more question after this. What goes to a bill after it passes the House, which it was originated? Why did the founders want the subject proposed laws to be to such intense scrutiny? So yeah, these Rules Committee guys, man, they are gnarly. Out of the thousands of bills that are placed on the calendar, only 100 will probably be considered important enough to be brought to the floor for debate. And of these 100, the Rules Committee will give privileged status for immediate consideration to only about 50. They can obtain a suspension rule, which requires 2/3 of the vote for the House to bring the bill to the floor for debate without action by the Rules Committee. Oh, that's not for the Rules Committee. I thought I was reading. What does this have to do? Oh, place on the calendar. Okay, so we're still talking about how bills get placed on the calendar, not just the Rules Committee. I apologize. Some of this was about their power, but then we're talking about how bills get put on. And they can do it without the Rules Committee. They can go around them if they have 2/3 of the vote. That's a good number. That's a good number. but they have some stuff when they only do it on the first and third Mondays and things like that. Unanimous consent means moving the bill be considered immediately and encountering no objection from any member on the floor. So when we have things that need to get done, they can get this stuff done. Obtain a discharge rule, which requires 218 signatures out of 435 members of the House. However, this measure can be put into effect only on the second and fourth Mondays. Okay. Calendar Wednesday, when the chairman of the committees are allowed to bring to the floor any bills from the House calendar or the Union calendar which lack privileged status from the Rules Committee. Unfortunately, the House Majority Leader often requests that Calendar Wednesday be canceled for the following week, and this motion is usually carried by the unanimous consent or a 2/3 vote. Well, that sounds like a bunch of hooey. Because the Rules Committee has the responsibility of managing the flow of the legislation to the floor, it can stipulate the conditions under which a particular bill can be considered. Thus, it can limit the debate or even rule that the bill cannot be amended. These streamlining procedures are considered essential to keep the legislative business flowing. However, it is obvious that the power of the Rules Committee is subject to abuse where there is an inclination to exercise it. And then it says, undoubtedly, the most dramatic aspect of the legislative process is the action that unfolds when the bill reaches the floor for debate. Oh, we should all know some of those, right? This was so interesting to me. I really appreciated learning this. Okay, this has to do a lot with assembling and everything, but here's something really cool. Because the House has 435 members plus several delegates, it has been necessary to take certain steps to expedite the handling of bills on the floor. Here are some major examples. The House can resolve itself into a committee of the whole. In other words, a temporary presiding officer can take the place of the speaker. The mace is removed to a lower level, and for all intents and purposes, the House is technically not in session. This allows a much less formal discussion of the issues, and only 100 members are required for a quorum. I thought that was really interesting. So we're obviously going into all the ways a House or a bill can come in onto the calendar still. The House considers a bill section by section, and amendments can be proposed and voted on. Limiting debate is another device used to expedite the procedures. Sometimes they'll limit to an hour each speaker. They must stay on the subject, obviously. At any time during the House debate, a member may move the previous question. This means he is calling for a vote. If the majority approve, the Speaker allows for each side an additional 20 minutes for debate, and then the matter is put to a vote. But in the Senate, debate is much less restricted because it involves a smaller number. So let me see. They talk a lot about filibustering in there if you want to hear about some of the history of the filibuster in there. And also keep in mind, let me see when the last time this book was revised, because it came out, I think it was late 80s or early 90s, but they have done many revisions. So let me see when the last copyright is, because, you know, we had some stuff going on with the filibuster just recently too. Didn't they get rid of it? Or I remember there was a lot of talk about it. Maybe it was still pretty old. Third edition revised 2007, April 2009. Well, 2009. We could use a revision, guys, I think. You know what I'm saying? Especially after the BO years. I'll bet some things have changed. '22, and last question. Describe where a bill goes after it passes, the house in which it originated. Why did the founders want to subject proposed laws to such intense scrutiny? After bills have been approved by either house, it must go to the other chamber for approval only when and agreed upon. The draft of the bill has been approved and signed by both Senate and the House. The president, it goes off to the president's desk. That is what that is. Let me see. 67 and 68. And then, yeah, that last page is really where you can read a lot about all the president's vetoing power, the pocket veto, all that stuff. There's more stuff in here. We did talk a little bit about that, but it's, I'm not gonna, you need to read it. You just need to read it. Read these 13 pages if you really want to be able to understand better how these powers are balanced and work. And I think it was a fine system they created. And another thing to keep in mind is, when it comes to democracy and a republic, the best way I've ever heard it put is 3 women, or no, is it 1 woman and 3 men on an island. Let's say, for the sake of the argument, they're actually gonna behave by how things vote. Let's say you have a democracy. How's that gonna go? Mob rule, right? Majority wins. When you have a republic, the ladies' vote counts, and it's a tie. She's represented. Only 1 man needs to be represented there in that situation, and 1 woman needs to be represented there. That's how our system works. But we do have democratic processes. So I think that's why people get confused, Anyway, what was it? 46 minutes. That was a long one. That was so meaty, you guys. So anyway, I do hope you'll read it. I hope you'll read that. Take the time to read the uploads there, because clearly it was a lot of work for me to get them to you this time. But I'm really enjoying the study. I have a great time with y'all. I don't know about the J6. I just don't know. You guys all having some internet glitches? Boo. Boo, boo, boo. Hi, Echo. You snuck in. Good to see you, babe. Astawa. Love you all, so smart. Look at all these smart people here. And you Rumble lurkers. I love y'all. I got some new people on Rumble. You're welcome, Devil Dog. Thank you. We love our country, don't we? God bless America. Land